7:35 this morning, getting ready. I had an 8 o'clocker. Yeah. And the number of Lamborghinis.
Yeah, there's two parked there next to me now.
Then, you know, you got other things too. I mean, the number of people who stay at this hotel with high-end cars.
An SLS, isn't there, as well?
Yeah, yeah.
Green one. Yeah.
So,
so you know the bullet hole I sent you?
Yeah, what was that all about? So you sent me this photo of a rim and you said, only thing could be is a bullet hole.
Yeah, so that was off of a Club Sport GTI, which we've now had the rim repaired, and I've just driven it over, made sure the wheel balancing was all okay and it's true and drives all right. And we just drove into the car park, and on any other day I'd have been like, I'm not parking next to the Lamborghini.
Yeah, yeah.
Parking next to the Lamborghini. This car's better than your car. Don't forget who makes your car, my friend. It's silly. Better looking car than mine.
I was really tempted also to back in beside the Lambos. With
just over them.
Yeah, well, that's it. You know, it's like, oh, sorry.
Probably the only, I mean, they get branded as those Gallardos are supercars.
Yeah.
But they're probably the only supercar that I'd want. They're always available in mental colours. They look mental.
Yeah.
And there's no hiding the fact that you're in one.
Yeah. But the thing is, so we're at the Rove Hotel.
Yeah.
There's these monster speed bumps to get on.
All right in a Lamborghini.
And you watch those things come in on the speed bumps, and you watch them go over, and it's like, yeah, pray to God you're not behind him, because the guy goes so slow, because he's going to take out the front end. And I watched one come down.
That's the time to overtake one.
Exactly. Oh, wouldn't you? It's like, you come up beside it, you rev the engine, and then you attempt to do a burnout over the thing.
Yeah. That's the way to do it.
Guy gets out and pummels you.
Yeah, I have to admit, I do like a Lamborghini. It's always nice to see that we still make and sell cars like that.
Now, here's something interesting. Maserati, and we look at Maseratis and we see what they've done and stuff. They've got a new one that's come out that's got the wing doors on it. I haven't seen one in the flesh, but I'm looking at it, I'm going, yeah, God, it looks like a Lamborghini. But I've only seen it on the billboard, I've seen the doors up, I've seen it from the side. I'm just going, it's got the profile of a Lambo. So I don't know what it's going to be like.
It's the one to copy though, right?
Yeah, so I don't know.
You only get noticed. Maserati don't make, I mean, the Quattroporte leaves a bit to desired, and I don't like, they call it the, I can't remember the name of the big one. Not the Stelvio, is it? That's the,
no,
that's the Alpha. But they do that big thing, the 4x4 or SUV, whatever it is.
I don't know.
They just leave a bit to be.
It's
lacking on the looks for me.
It's not their market. I mean, I know everyone's got to do it. You've got to get into the 4x4 market, and everyone's at Rolls Royce has got one, Bentley's got one, you know, Lamborghini's got one. You don't really have a choice.
Yeah, they're all making them.
Yeah, so it's anyway. With that being said, what about the bullet hole on the rim? What's going on? What was that? Was that just road debris?
Just driven over something.
Really?
There's no other explanation for it.
Because this is something that I threw this in the notes because it's based on that photo, is that we think tires. We do have a lot of cool rims that are going on. How often do people do a little integrity check of their rims? I don't think people pay enough attention to them.
Yeah, I mean, this guy had no choice, right?
Yeah.
He's got no air left in there.
Yeah.
There's a hole literally the size of my finger, my small little finger. You could get right in the hole from the inside out.
Yeah, which is weird. Like, was something in the...
It must have driven over something on the road that was very hard and not moving.
Yeah.
And, a little bit like when you're a kid playing out in the street, you fall over on your knees and you don't cut your trousers.
Yeah.
But your knees are cut to pieces.
Yeah.
A little bit the same that. The tyre had survived, but the rim had a massive hole through it.
Really weird.
Just a sharp sudden impact, and the tyre didn't split, but it cracked and blew a hole through the rim. So, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? It's probably something like a sheared stud or wheel nut or wheel bolt from a truck or a car or whatever on the road that somebody's gone over and game over at that point.
Well, and it's, you know, you run into this problem. So, you know, we're coming to you from Dubai. Folks who are going to come and visit Dubai can't wait to meet you. Those of you who are living in different parts of the world, I know that we've all got highways, 3, 4, 5 lanes, unless you're out in the middle of nowhere. You've got big transit ways that exist for you to get from one place to the other. You get some debris on those things, you're in the middle lane, you've got no choice. You either have to quickly do an assessment, can I move over enough, or you got to hit it. or the stuff you don't see. You know, like you said, it could be a wheel bolt or something that's fallen off.
Yeah, I mean, the lucky thing from his point of view here is that it didn't damage the front one and then the rear one. It only damaged the one on the rear. But it's very, very unlucky that it's happened. But like I say, we see stranger things happen. So it's just one of those. But it just looked perfectly round hole, like a bullet hole.
Could you repair that rim, or is the rim?
Yeah, we repaired the rim. Yeah, so the rim's been repaired and made sure that it still spins true and it's balanced evenly and it's fine. So new tyre, and away we go. The tyre wasn't damaged through the impact. The tyre was damaged because it was driven with no air in it.
Right.
So the sidewalls had collapsed and cracked.
Yeah. Unfortunate. Yeah. Are we ready for PowerPoints?
We've got one.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm ready. If you're ready, here we go.
So, if anyone listened to last week's episode, I think we referenced it, and I was supposed to send this through to you, James, so I apologise that I didn't do that, but you know me by now. So, what I was going to do was talk about fuel consumption, and I've gone into quite a bit of detail, done a bit of a couple of references from papers, scientific and some anecdotal stuff, and then some sort of more pop culture kind of these things you can do to help with fuel consumption. And then I thought, that's boring, everybody does that. Yeah. And I was a little bit unhappy with it, and I put it off and put it off. And I was typing through, and I'd seen the billboard for the new Skoda Kamiq. Again, we referenced that last week.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe the price on it. And I thought, you know what, the other thing with that is that's going to have like a 2-litre engine in it, like the whole VW family's got, and it's going to be a fantastic car for fuel consumption. And a lot of the times when I mention to people, when they ask me about a car to buy or what do I think of X, Y or Z, I always mention fuel consumption.
Yeah, like that's got to be on the top of people's minds.
Yeah, and that's obviously the Brit in me, because it's ridiculously expensive at home for fuel, but also it's the fact that fuel consumption doesn't just mean impact on your wallet, it means impact on the environment, which is key. And these days I think it's more so than ever. But everybody always comes back to me and says, yeah, but fuel's not expensive here. So it's like, what? That's not the point I'm making. Like, and I feel sort of, why do I have to go on about, no, your emissions are down if you're using less fuel. You're saving the planet. So again, having seen the billboard, we got a visit by Ian, who brought one of his Skoda Fabias in and dropped that one off and took his other away. And we were just chatting away. And I was amazed that when I mentioned this new billboard from the Kamiq and said, look, at least somebody seems to be doing something about selling them. He said to me, having bought 3 over the years, he had never had a single contact from a sales executive or anyone from the organisation that sold him the cars saying, oh, we've got a new model, would you like to come and test it?
Man.
And he's bought 3 cars from them. Like, not many people buy 3 cars from the same place. You've been here a long time, you bought 2. Mm-hmm. He's bought 3. And it just made me think, what's going on? And there should be more Skodas on the road. There's a few cars out here that there should be more of them on the road. And the Chinese cars, and I don't know the names well enough, and most people don't know the names well enough with respect, so we'll group them together and everybody knows what we're talking about. But, you know, things like the Geelys and the JACs and the JMCs, Cherries and all these things, there are more and more slowly coming on the road because people appreciate the economy of them in terms of buying them initially. And they come with relatively small engines, so they're cheap to run and cheap to maintain. Well, the Skodas are there, but they've got heritage, and they're built by VW. They're a VW product with a different badge, so you're getting all the quality that VW and Audi have been known for.
All the engineering.
All of the engineering, and often they release their model equivalent of the VW or Audi or Seat last. So you might get the new Fabia, which would be the Polo, come out after the Polo. So you might end up with 6-7 months of testing on the Polo, and the early versions having issues as they're initially sold, and then the Fabia never has those problems. And they're probably 25-30% cheaper.
Go figure that one out.
And it's crazy.
It's the badge.
So I'd come up with some points on this, and this applies to most things that you should think about. But for me, there has to be something going wrong. Why are there not more Skodas on the road? Now, the elephant in the room is, well, we're in Dubai and the UAE as a whole, and it's not quite the right image. I appreciate there's a bit of dogma with the whole Skoda thing, and you know the old jokes about a skip with wheels and all that stuff. But that's not the case anymore. And when you consider the price of them, the technology on them is European standard. The emission standards on them, European standard. You see trucks going around here bragging about Euro 2, Euro 3.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, these will be Euro 7. These are a completely different ballpark. And then, even if you have a problem with the looks of them, and you can't quite handle having the badge, and I know people that have actually said to me they won't buy a car because of the badge. And when they liked the look of the car, they asked me how much it would be to take the badge off and smooth the panel out.
Wow.
But anyone with an issue with the looks, go and look at the new Skoda Superb. Probably the best name I've ever heard for a car. Yeah. It's an absolutely superb car. It looks the part, it does all the jobs. And then there's the VRS models, which give you the performance and the sporty handle and feel, and it's very understated. Like most of the VW stuff, unless you go top end like the RS stuff and from Audi. But most of the VW group stuff is very understated. Even the Porsche stuff, until you get to the GT3s and the RSs, they're very understated, and they've got all the power, all the performance, all the technology. And I just think there's a lot of people out here that probably overlook them because they don't know where to buy them. They don't necessarily want to buy them because they think, well, I can't be seen driving a Skoda. And that could all change if the people selling them educated.
Right.
Now, obviously, they can't put a Skoda billboard up and say, Volkswagen Golf, X price, Skoda Octavia, X price, and it's the same.
Yeah,
they can't
we can't do that here.
Same tech, same shit. They can't do that, right? But there are ways about educating, explaining that it's a VW Group car.
I think that's like one of the number one things. People do not realize that Skodas are really VWs.
Yeah, and look, at the end of the day, anyone that's ever listened to any of these knows that I'm a big VW Group sort of mark, and that's always going to be a car that I recommend to anybody. And oftentimes it's heart over head, but most of the time it's a sensible choice. And for me, the Skoda is a no-brainer. At 70,000 dirhams for on the road, brand new, latest, and we're talking the latest technology. Skodas are spec'd very well. You can guarantee more airbags than most of the current vehicles in that segment. The price will be less. You've got the fact that the servicing's cheap. Your impact on the environment is cheap. They're built in factories in Europe often that have massively more strict regulations on them. So you have a position where you can buy a vehicle from an Asian country which might not have those same strict regulations, or a vehicle from a European country which has strict regulations. So it's less carbon impact on the world when it's being built. It's less carbon impact on the world when it's driven. It's less carbon impact on the world as a service. And they tend to last very, very well. There's nothing that you could do as long as you're servicing them that would say they won't last as long as a Mitsubishi, or they won't last as long as a Geely. So for me, things have to start with educating people about them. I think the importer and the distributor here have got a lot to answer for on that. They need to make sure they build up on the communications. And if Skoda doesn't speak to you and you live in Dubai, then I think the time will come that hopefully that does change. I don't think it's sort of imminent. I agree. I don't think they're going to be over at the Dubai Mall on the Grand Parking. I don't think there's ever going to be Skodas left outside. It's always still going to be your G-Wagons and your Lamborghinis and stuff like that. Okay, cool, no problem. But for me, it's a sensible choice, and there has to be something more done by the distributor to keep a brand going, because there's absolutely no reason not to buy one. And I cannot think of a single reason that makes any sense You know, we're in an era that we're in now where everyone's supposed to be body positive and positive about this and never say a bad thing about your personality or anybody's physical attributes, etc., etc. Well, let's transfer that to a car, and then there's zero reason not to buy a Skoda.
Sold me.
I mean, just to say, Volkswagen still rule. I mean, it's still going to buy the Volkswagen, but I mean, there's zero reason not to buy the Skoda.
Yeah, for sure. You know, one of the I've sent you some of the clips my brother forwarded to me, Joey.
Yeah, I saw them on
the Mazda
yeah.
3. It's been a few weeks, but he was driving around in a Mazda 3, and it was interesting because, you know, he got into it. He was really happy. His discerning point for the Mazda 3 was he needed all-wheel drive, and it just happened to be the version. And it's interesting looking at the Mazda line. Every single car that you get in Mazda can be an all-wheel drive version. It's going to cost you, you know, American $1,500 plus.
It's not bad though, is it?
Yeah, so add another $1,500 to your price tag, you can get all-wheel drive.
It's not bad.
So I thought, yeah, that's actually pretty affordable.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching a review of the Golf R, the Mark 8, the other day, and there's a £2,000 extra for activating drift mode on it.
To activate it, I mean, it's already on there.
It's on there. It's obviously just you change a 0 to a 1 in the code, and away you go.
£2,000.
Yeah. So, you know, all-wheel drive's a little bit better than drift mode.
Yeah, I like to have the all-wheel drive and the drift mode, though.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. But yeah, it was interesting because, you know, again, a lot like Skoda in a different way. Mazda is there. We see some of them around.
Yeah. Good
value, but you don't hear a lot about them.
No. No, they're sort of the forgotten brand, aren't they, from Japan?
And this is the thing. It's Japanese technology. It's Japanese workmanship. It's a Japanese car.
Yeah, and I mean they do a lot of cross work with Ford. I think a lot of the stuff Ford, Volvo, Mazda, Land Rover, they're all sort of produced out of the same kind of parts bin. A lot of them nowadays. But I've liked the look of that CX-9 for a long time. This current model. Yeah. And, you know, I think Colin's mother-in-law has a CX-5, which he raves about, and she really likes from his account of it. So
the CX-9's pretty big. Like that's a.
Yeah, I do like that CX-9. What I like about the CX-9 is the Ford Explorer and the Land Rover Discovery. They're kind of too similar now. The CX-9, although it's very similar, stands on its own. Like the XC90 is different. The CX, I just like that CX-9. The front end's really nice, and
I know it's got a big bold front end, doesn't it?
I think like a statement.
Yeah,
they just said, "Oh, so what? This is what it looks like," and it's a brave one, and that's probably why a lot of people don't buy them. We just said about Skodas, no one wants them because of the name of them.
Yeah,
but I would certainly buy it, and they're not that expensive. I know a pilot who left in February, and he sold his, which he'd had for less than a year, for 140, and he bought it a year before for 170, but that was pilot.
Yeah.
Spec on top of spec on top of spec, heated seats and heated steering wheel and all that.
All the stuff you really need.
Yeah. Tick every box, please. I'll have that. So,
but
you know,
that's great. That's great retention of value.
Considering the fact that it was a distressed sale and the times we're in and stuff like that. So I do like them. They drive well and they've got all the tech on them. They look nice. Yeah. Again, just a forgotten brand, isn't it?
Well, and that's what Joey was talking about with this Mazda 3. He said, look, you get in, it's full of tech. He said, it's a tech wonder. He said, it's also entry level, so you keep your mind on that, and the quality of the tech changes as you go up the levels. He said, you know, first-time car owner, someone who's young into the car market, this is a great car.
Yeah.
It was interesting, one of the things that he didn't like, or he just, and this is because he's just driving a lot of cars. So, and the real challenge you face is when you drive a lot of cars, and those cars are of different levels within a range. So you drive something that's base level, and then you drive something that's, you know, like a Mazda 5, or you know, you go up the levels. Suddenly, it changes the way things are in the vehicle. And one of his complaints was the lane assist technology. He just didn't like it.
Yeah, there's a few cars that have really nailed that. The ones that have the sort of warning that lights up on the mirror. That's a good one. And
I like that one too.
And one of the reasons that I also, apart from the fact that as the driver, it makes sense because you are warned if you're looking in your mirror, which you should be doing.
And somehow it's situated. You can't help but see that little yellow light or red light.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
it like catches your attention.
Yeah, they're done really, really well. But some of the cars, I just don't like them. So on the Mercedes, they'll vibrate the steering wheel 3 times as you go over the line if you've not indicated.
I end up turning that off.
Yeah, that's just what? Why?
You're annoying me now.
Yeah, and then there's cars that just make this annoying beep.
Yeah.
Like as you
wake
drive
up, wake up.
Just, I get it. It's to stop people,
Yeah.
stop them if they're falling asleep at the wheel to warn them. No, you're going over the line. Wake up. But I think the shock of it probably does more damage than actually what it's trying to prevent. So the ones in the mirror, so the Mercedes ones, the Audi ones that have just that warning in the mirror, they're really good, and I do like them, and they work very, very well. They're not overly intrusive. They do the job that they're there for and nothing else. It doesn't really require much modification. It's literally a light in the glass of the mirror.
Pretty easy.
It makes the mirror glass expensive if you smash the mirror glass.
Pray you don't
That's
break
one
it.
of the negatives. But otherwise, those ones work really well. It's technology that we managed without for a long time. I mean, I'd be interested to know, I'm sure there's people working on this, I'd be interested to know how many people have accidents through changing lanes without warning or without checking, since and then before this tech.
I am certain that, because you just see it when people are backing up now, they don't look behind, they're just looking at the camera. They've got all this tech that they don't think about the blind spots. So then you go to a car that doesn't have that on it, late model of something, you're a goner because you're so used to the backup technology and you're so used to the warnings. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
The camera technology, especially the ones that have the overhead, so they got them under the mirrors and the wide lens on the front and back, so you can effectively get an overhead view of the car.
Right.
Fantastic. Yeah. But like you say,
over-dependent.
And manufacturers do everything they can, short of removing the cameras totally, and put check surroundings, do not rely solely on camera, various different...
They tell you over and over again.
Yeah.
Forget it, I don't need to, don't worry.
Just watching the screen.
Yeah.
And, we're like this all day anyway. Yeah. And since the pandemic, we're like this and communicating like this. You've done podcasts with Jenna over Zoom today, and we used to do them all through the lockdown. A lot of people conducting education and meetings on the screen. People just do it. I mean, getting a Tesla. Well, the first thing you notice now is the screen.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, backup cameras are the one that killed me, and people are so reliant on them. I see someone backing up, I stop. If I'm walking or if I'm in a car, I stop well away from it because I don't know how far they can see and if they're looking and do their sensors, are they going to pick me up? So I just can't chance it.
Yeah, I mean,
whereas if someone's looking, they got their head over the shoulder. Oh, I see Pike away coming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we've got a situation where even when I started in sort of early 2000s, the smartphones didn't exist.
Right.
So, you were on your phone to send an SMS or make a phone call, and that was it.
That was
it. Had a VGA camera on it, which was like...
It's so bad.
Take a picture of your mate on the toilet just over the top of the cubicle as a joke, and that was it. And you'd take you 5 minutes to send it to somebody. Cost you like 75 pence. But we were not of the screen. Everything's dominated by a screen now. Yeah. So anyone that's going to learn to drive now has spent 17 years, if 17 is the age of driving in the UK, probably spent the last 14 years of that on screens. Yeah. And totally trusting of them. So the sort of closest I can think of as an analogy to that is on the Golf 5, when that came out and I was working at VW, it had bulb warning systems on it. So the bulbs were what we call cold monitored. So turn the ignition on and it would send from the central control for the electronics, it would send a very, very small current to all of the bulbs. And if it came back, it knew the circuit was okay. If it didn't come back, it knew a bulb was blown, or assumed a bulb was blown. Yeah. But either way, that bulb wouldn't work. So, bing, check front right headlight,
Right.
check number plate light, whatever it was.
Nice.
So a car would come in for a service, and this is what you do. You drive through the workshop door, you'd press the horn, work the wipers front and back. Whoever was around there would know, therefore, that you're about to do a service. They'll stand in front of the car and check the lights for you. They'll then go to the back and shout out and check the lights for you, all there, or brake light not working, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that was just how we did it. Very efficient, and everyone knew what they were doing. If you were walking across the shop, somebody pressed the horn, and you see the wipers going, check the lights for them. Now, I'd get in a Mark 5, press the horn, do the washers in the car park, no warning light. Drive it in. I know there's no bulb out.
Yeah.
I can check all of the bulbs except for the brake bulbs on my own. But I don't need to because there's no warning light. I trust the tech, right? And I'd done the training on it and I trusted it.
Yeah.
So then you've got Graham, who's 50 at the time, saying, what are you doing? You've not checked the bulbs, not checked the lights. There's no warning, Graham. You don't know that's true, that could be faulty.
Yeah.
And he's got a point, right? And we're saying exactly the same. You don't know that those cameras are fantastic. Some of the resolution on the screens now and the camera quality is better than TV 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. But we're sat here saying it's better to turn your head, which it is.
Just verify, double check it.
But they're very good and they don't have blind spots. You know, you can go to a junction in a car and you can physically press it on a lot of cars. You can choose the camera, and if it's a blind junction or you're going down a small alleyway, you know, like in Jumeirah or something like that, and you can see around the corner where you can't actually see from the seat.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Works better than your eyes.
Yeah.
Sees further, can see around corners, but
See in the dark.
we're saying, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're saying don't trust it.
Yeah, it's tough.
You know, they've had headlights for 15 years on VWs that, and definitely the same on Mercedes, that will pick up cars coming the other way and dim down, automatically raise and dip if they pick up a car so you don't blind the car coming the other way.
Yeah.
The worst part about that is that car's not doing the same to you.
No, isn't that the most annoying thing?
But you know, probably 10, certainly 5, maybe 10 years where they've had driving down a country road in the UK and as an example, a deer runs across the road or hear a camel in the night and you don't see it, the vehicle sees it with the radar and it will point the lights at it and slow the car down.
Yeah.
That's amazing technology.
That is.
Amazing technology. Now, it's amazing to us because we didn't have it.
Yeah.
I didn't have it on my Polo, 1990 Polo, my first car. You wouldn't have had it on the Golf Cab.
No.
But May and Alma at home when they start to drive,
Yeah.
you know.
They're going to have to switch, go autonomous mode. We're in the city.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm going to be going to school. They're just going to hit autonomous mode, and it's going to get them there. And then when they get out of the city and they're going up to visit some friends out in the country, you turn off the autonomous mode and you enjoy the drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be Crazyville.
Yeah, they're going to be, you know, it's like literally totally different and expectations change, but it changes so quickly now. Yeah. I mean, I know for a fact that, because I used the old equipment, I used the old diagnostic tools where you'd plug it in, 2 little wires under the dashboard.
There you go.
And wait for the screen to tick the number over and then quickly write it down before it went off. Otherwise, you'd have to wait 20 minutes for it to come again.
It's
and then like 3 years later, we're plugging it in into something else. And then 3 years later, there's no plug, it's Bluetooth. And then 3 years later, you just put the key in and it's, but now it's months. It's not even years, it's months in between upgrades. And
it's crazy.
Because of what's happened in the world over the last 18 months, there's been even more improvements on technology. Yeah. And in particular, network and screens. Yeah. That's what everyone needs them now. Yeah. Doctors want to be able to do stuff at home. Now that was coming anyway. But
it sped it up.
Now it's even like critical. So get that done better.
We just have to hold the hardware and keep up with it. And that's, you know, the ideas are there, but do we have enough chips? Do we have enough of X, Y, Z programming? It's like it's interesting. It becomes really interesting.
Yeah.
Another thing Joey went on about with this Mazda 3. We're just walking around this Mazda 3. It's kind of fun actually. This conversation. He says it's really zippy, and it was fun. But he said 130 kilometers an hour, you're at 3,000 RPM. So it didn't have the biggest engine in the world in it. And he first of all, it was a high rever. Second of all, he said if a semi-trailer went by you, it kind of tossed you around a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit light.
It was a little bit light. And he said, maybe the Mazda 5 would have been a better deal.
Yeah.
But he's an old man, right?
Yeah.
So
No, I think just for the sake of Joey, just the rental car company, in case they're listening, he didn't actually get to 130 kilometres an hour. That was just reading up on the internet.
Yeah, that was, exactly.
But no, I think 130, obviously it's a Mazda 3, it's a city car, it's not a cruiser.
Well, and that's the thing, right? And this is our big challenge with so many cars is we own city cars and then we take it on the highway.
Yeah.
And it's not a Pontiac Roadmaster.
No, exactly. That's right.
That's
right.
It's a light little thing that's great for zipping around the city.
Yeah, it's a city car. Home to university for a first-time driver, like you say, or somebody that's commuting into the city every day and needs a nice, simple, easy to park, toll-friendly car.
Yeah.
And I think.
And I know it was toll friendly. He was on the toll road, so it was very friendly with the tolls.
Yeah, there's certainly worse. There's certainly worse cars out there to buy.
Yeah. And I think that was his thing. It's there are worse cars to buy, but he would like it to have a little bit more sophistication, and a little bit bigger of an engine, and maybe a little bit heavier. But
this is from a General Motors man, though, right? So everything's got to have a V8 and is made out of cast iron. So
True.
This little 4-cylinder with aluminium panels everywhere.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't driven the current one, so it's always a good review, and look forward to the next one that he gets. Hopefully, it's something more interesting for him.
And I always take it as a positive indictment when he's not going back to the rental company and say, yeah, can I swap this out?
Yeah, same day. Yeah, anything, just anything else.
Well, on the way home, I'll take anything.
Yeah, I'll take a cab. Yeah.
And it's true, he could also just say, I'll just drive my own vehicle, because he just can't stand the vehicle, which never happens. But and that's a pickup truck. So
yeah, we always used to get given a car. So mechanics never got company cars once you got to Master Tech level or you became workshop controller, you'd get a company car. But we never got a company car as a mechanic. But then when we went training to VW UK head office, they'd give you a car to use. Or 42 pence per mile reimbursement.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, they have to cover you for fuel, and they have to cover you for wear and tear, and they have to cover you for all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So 42p per mile it was if you used your own car. Now, for most of the time, I used to always like having the new car, but when my Mark II Golf was running nicely and I'd had it done while the novelty was still there, I used to like going down there in that and getting 42p per mile. But it was always one of those where it was sometimes beneficial to us to actually have a good drive and experience of some of the new models. It was the only time we actually really experienced them, apart from a road test, which 4 or 5 miles around the block for a service road test isn't really owning the vehicle and spending any time in it, filling it with fuel and just doing the daily sort of starting it up in the morning when it's cold and getting into it in the evening when it's cold, or seeing how good the headlights work in the night time, or the defrost works on the screen in the morning. So driving those cars for training was a good experience. There's a few times where I thought, that's cool, I didn't know I could do that. And you just learn, like pairing a phone or whatever it might have been. So it was always good driving those new cars, but obviously they were always VWs. So what Joey's doing and getting different cars and stuff like that, it's quite good for us to get actual real world, real people reviews of real day, everyday cars.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Speaking of cars, Walking Dead, I was you haven't watched the latest one, have you? I did send you
the one with the dog.
Yeah, did you watch that one?
Second episode.
Yeah, the second one. You watched that?
Yeah, I was devastated.
That was the one.
Was a day too late.
I wasn't sure if you would have watched it, and we're both, my wife and I are watching it. We're going, Glenn's gonna really hate this one.
The hell is Leah?
No, that whole show, that whole episode, there was no reason for that episode.
No,
there was nothing. Like there were 5 walkers. There was, at least we learned about the dog. It's going back 5 months. I had 6 months. I'm going.
I'd rather have gone back and learned about the tiger that Ezekiel used to have.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know what it got me thinking about when I was watching that episode was what happened. They used to have some fun cars, and they're, you know, Walking Dead. Obviously, time has progressed. There's like nothing. I loved it when they had the motorhome in that season, the Fleetwood Flair motorhome.
Yeah.
But it's a horrible thing. But there's like no cars right now. There's nothing. They got the motorbike, but there's no cars. There's no vehicles. It's got to be one of the only shows that even when it did have vehicles, it wasn't showing them off.
I don't know how that motorbike's still going. I've never seen him service it.
Yeah.
What are we, like 10 years in?
Yeah, he was having trouble
Come on,
starting it.
Darryl.
He was having trouble starting it on that. But then it did kick over after how many times? And
I don't know. But I mean, the thing for me is that we had a conversation with a customer the other day. I was like, look, one of my sort of sins in life is watching awful TV shows. And one of them's The Walking Dead. And it's like, look, unless you guys, I'll say till I'm blue in the face that I take a Volkswagen over anything else, but unless they were driving around we all know it, unless they're all Toyotas,
yeah,
they're not running now. It's like you see them get the big Ford trucks going. No chance. Not a prayer.
I'm actually looking at this. There's a couple. They had a couple of Beamers in the early days, and
Oh, in the early days, no problem.
but then there's a lot of Cadillacs. There's a lot of Chevs. I'm
Unless they're all running around in like the C10 stuff,
Yeah.
the big proper old trucks. Yeah, fair enough. You can fix those as long as you've got oil to put in them. You put anything
Right.
in those. But come on, unless it's a Hilux, you know, with steel screwed to the side of it, there's no way. No way.
I guess that's where it's gone, because people are just kind of going, there's no way these cars are going to be running.
They should have just gone with it. We said last week they should have some iconic cars on it. Why not? Why not? Why have they not gone to a car showroom?
Well, I wondered about that too. Like they got to be sitting there.
Yeah.
But they've never walked into a car showroom.
Straight into a car showroom, you know, find a manual that you can sort of bump start. Yeah, obviously the fuel's no good at this point. But why has nobody been spinning around in like Lamborghinis and
I know.
Porsches?
Never seen any. Atlanta.
They've missed a chance.
I don't know.
Maybe that's where Rick is.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's just like, whatever.
Found a showroom.
Yeah, he's found like, he's at the GM factory in Canada. He's like, yes. Spinning around in Corvettes.
Could be. I just thought it was interesting.
They should have done that. Definitely should have.
Yeah, and the cars that they always did have were always dirty or banged up, or it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think they've missed a bit of a trick with that. They could have had a bit of fun with it. Instead, now we've got to watch
Well, I thought
a man throw a fish at a woman's front door. That was literally what they were building to, right? And then she threw it back at him. And then, you know, they made a big point of putting the sort of fur carpet in front of the fire to imply that maybe they did, maybe they didn't.
can't imagine hygiene. I don't think so.
Talk about fish. But I don't know. I've got no idea what they were doing. I mean, it's one of those situations where I don't really want to watch the next one, but then you think, oh, it can't be that bad.
Well, it's getting near the end, right? What have we got? 5 episodes left, and it's
Amy
a wrap.
seems to think there's another series. There's been told the Instagram account said this is the penultimate. This is the end to the penultimate series.
Okay, and then they're going to start another spin-off.
And then there's something.
Well, they got
else,
the Rick
and
thing.
then
They got to follow up on Rick.
Apparently, he's not making another appearance now till the movie. Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Really? Okay.
Somebody gave them money for a movie. Nice one.
Yeah. I thought it maybe would be like, did you ever watch Vikings?
No, I didn't watch Vikings actually, but
You should watch Vikings.
being a bit of an old wrestling fan, I think there was a wrestler that was in it, or you're an ex-wrestler or something that was in it, and
I think
it'd be something I'd like. DJ watches it, or watched it.
So I'm not going to spoil the end, but I'm going to give a foreshadow to the last episode where some characters come back. And I always hope that come near the end that there'd be a little flash. I mean, they've had a few flashes with Rick, and you know, Daryl is looking for him still. He doesn't believe that
She went, didn't she? Michonne went to. She found a
walkie-talkie or something.
phone or something where it etched the photograph or a picture of them on it.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, they've had a few things. It's like, come on. They got it. Who knows?
The worst thing is, like, in a few episodes' time, when the end of this series, the 2 spin-offs are going to be back on again. Fear the Walking Dead and The World Beyond.
Yeah, the World Beyond one. I'm still in. I've only watched a couple of those episodes.
It gets all right to the end.
Okay, But
much
Fear of the
better
Walking
than-
Dead, I
much,
gave up on.
Much better than the Fear of the Walking
couldn't do
Dead
it.
did. But that got okay because, what's the guy's name? The British actor that's got a really bad American accent. What's his name? Morgan, who was in the original Walking Dead.
Yeah.
In the first series, who
I remember
had
Morgan.
to shoot his wife, and then he went a bit mental.
Yeah.
And left, and then came back and left and came back. Well, he's now left and he's still on the other show, but then he left that one. And now he's came back, and he wouldn't kill people. Then he would kill people. Then he wouldn't kill people. Now he can't kill enough people.
Yeah, okay.
Even his own people. He's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
You don't come with me, I'll kill you. Oh, no problem, mate.
Yeah. Maybe Walking Dead's done its time.
I mean, look, they don't do bad out of a comic strip, right?
Yeah.
Not
It's a
too bad.
graphic novel. It's still going. It's like, yeah, it's a
Not
great
done-
comic
not
book.
done bad at all, really. But it's had it's run its course with me. Unless just start going crazy with it, you know, just have people driving around in Lamborghinis. Why not?
I think they had the opportunity to make a Mad Max kind of thing, you know, and then they got but
they should have.
they never went that road. So
There's nothing iconic now. There's nothing iconic to come out of it. You know, what Rick used to wear a cowboy hat and had that revolver, and
that was it.
there's Negan's jacket and Daryl's waistcoat, and
Yeah, it's gone. I don't know. So, anyway.
hey,
On that note, you know what we're going to do? We're going to roll up the carpet, and we're going to say it's been a wonderful conversation about cars and more, coming to you from PowerWorks Automotive. Glenn Power and me. We're at the Rove Hotel downtown Dubai in the podcast studio. Follow us on the socials, Podholics with a K. Send us email at gmail, podholicswithak@gmail.com. Just get involved. Share the link. We'll talk to you again real soon. So long for now.